Jesse Kirkby with a great individual effort, shorthanded goal to give the Lumber Kings a 2-0 lead after 40 minutes. And I've got a guy with me now who might have scored a few goals with the Pembroke Lumber Kings, George Dupont. George, great to see you.
Yeah, a lot of memories in this old building.
Well, you played here in the heyday of the Lumber Kings under Jim Ferrelli, 6 championships in 8 years. You hung around this team for 3 or 4 years. Some big years. I think 1 year, 178 points.
Yeah.
Hockey was a bit different then, wasn't it?
It is a little bit different. Watching the game sped up. They're all athletes now, right? They train all year. They do everything. Not that we didn't try and stay in shape, but it is a little bit different.
So I want to talk about some history because the Lumber Kings have been part of this community forever. This rink has been around for 70 years. Tell me about what it was like playing with under Jim Ferrelli in the 80s.
You know what? I remember walking into the rink, and it's a little bit different than most of the other rinks, right? And even before I got here, there was a lot of history, right? You get here and you hear about the teams in the 70s and all that stuff and who played and the success they had, and you come in and the rink hasn't really changed all much. They did a little bit with the back here, but. And Jim was a hard-nosed hockey coach, right? And he demanded a lot of effort and a lot of character, and you had to work hard under Jim.
And when you played here, certainly in the playoffs, the house was packed every night. What was that like?
You know what? Always a great atmosphere, right? And we always felt we had an advantage there, right? Pembroke was a fun place to play, and once people got a little bit of experience playing up here and seeing the support and the fans, a lot of guys wanted to come, and Jim did a good job with recruiting and getting some good hockey players up here. We were typically a little bit of an older team, but we worked hard and the fans supported us well. I mean, there were some games in here where it was real packed and loud.
I'm going to bring you back to one is a bad memory, but I've heard you tell the story before where you were that night. The year when, one of the rare years when you guys got beat, and Luke Chabot, who was probably the most prolific hockey scorer in the history of this league, had the game-tying goal on his stick on a penalty shot.
Yes.
You pick up the story from there. It was game. I think it was game 7.
Well, right before that, we were losing significant. I think we were down by 4 or 5, and we ended up having a bench-clearing brawl.
Yeah.
And I broke my nose in that fight. It was the first time I fought, and it didn't go well for me, right? So I'm sitting off watching the rest of the game, and we get down. We're down by 1, and they call a penalty shot, and Luke's the guy up, right? And so, of course, you think, okay, it's tie game. Now we just got to see what happens. And Luke went to make a move, dumped the puck in the corner, right? And he didn't even get a shot on net for a guy who had 100 that year. He hit the century mark for goals. To think that he wouldn't get at least a shot on net would be a different story.
When I wrote the book a few years ago, Go Kings Go, and I remember interviewing Luke about that, and he blamed it on the stick. He said, for whatever reason, I changed sticks just before the goal. I shouldn't have done it. Anyways, it's history, but, it sticks with players.
Oh, no, yeah. Sure everybody has a few stories that stick with them, right? And that's one that, I don't think both Luke or I will ever forget that one.
Well, you also coached here.
I did. And I took over a little late. We came in a little late. Missed kind of the draft, and we decided our initial thought was, hey, we'd go young and try and build, right? So we picked up some good young players, Jamie Walters, Scott Campbell, a few guys that ended up becoming good, but we went young, sacrificed a little bit that year, and it was a 2 or 3 year plan, but then the guy who was going to buy the team asked me to come back up and coach in Milton, so I left and ended up in Milton.
And you've been involved in hockey a long time as a player, as a coach, part of an ownership group. What are you doing now?
So right now I run the association in Oklahoma City. That's where my boy played. It's a small association, 300 kids. So hockey down south in Oklahoma is not a booming sport. So I do whatever I can to support it and try and grow it.
So your son's playing here now. He got a point tonight for you.
He did.
Came all the way from Oklahoma, and he got on the board his first point.
He did.
Here it is. You haven't seen the highlight. Look at this play. You're in behind the cage. And,
Hey, at least he was trying to battle, right? He's trying to skate. He's earning his stripes. He's trying to get caught up. The league's a little older now than it was when I played in. I see that that there's a lot of teams in with the 19, 20-year-olds. It's a little bit older, not as many younger kids. he's got to earn his stripes, and he missed all last year like most kids did with COVID. It was an important year for him, and hopefully he kind of gets caught up to speed. The game's fast, and it goes fast.
And you're on a clock, right?
Yeah.
You can only play till you're 20. I don't think it's a coincidence that you played here and your son's playing here. How'd that happen?
Well, so he actually was recruited by Carleton Place, and with last year, and Jason Clark ended up selling the team and leaving. So it left some things open, and Todd Clark's here, and so there was discussion. And of course, I have fond memories and of not only the team but the town and the community. Great town, great community, great people. So I figured, for him to get out on his own, this would be a great place for him to kind of experience life, grow up a little bit, and play some great hockey.
George, I'd love to talk more because I just love the history of the franchise and, of course, this rink. So I'm going to give you one more shot here to tell me one great memory that you have. Let's talk about the first time you walked in the rink here as a kid.
Well, walking into the rink again, it's a little different than most Central junior hockey rinks. You can tell it has character. You can tell it has history. There's, everybody. Now, some of the banners have changed, right? So updated and changed a little bit, but it's always had banners with people's names on it. You get people telling you, who each person was and everything else. And there's like a lot of history. Things have look a lot of the same. A lot of people stood up back in the one end zone behind the seats up there, and you could hear them yelling. Very few rinks you could hear people yelling at you. This was one that you could.
Yeah, and they tell you they didn't like what was going on.
100%. That's
didn't
what
matter.
I mean.
Didn't matter if you had 178 points.
No,
in the
100%.
season. What'd you do in the last 10 seconds?
Yeah. Hey, if you're Luke Shabbat, you score 100 goals that year, but you miss the penalty shot, you're hearing about it.
For sure. Well, I think Luke's still with the Rockland Nationals, so I look forward to chatting with him.
Yeah, actually, I watched. I went to the Pembroke, not the Pembroke. I went to the Nepean Raiders Kempville game this afternoon. Watched his boy play.
Okay.
Louis playing in Nepean, so it's kind of come full circle. I watched his kid. I'm watching my own kid here. So
that's fantastic.
20 years later, or 30-some years later, here our boys are.
Hockey's such a generational sport. That's great. That's a great way to end this. Well, it's great to see you. I'd love to shake hands with you, but we got plastic between us. So welcome to the COVID world.
Hey, at least they're playing hockey this year.
That's right. We're playing hockey. So George Dupont, a great Pembroke Lumber King who really lit up the score sheet with some fantastic teammates in the 1980s and helped this franchise win 6 titles in 8 years. Amazing. George Dupont, alumni, Pembroke Lumber Kings. We're through 2 periods. The Kings, current version, leading the Cornwall Colts 2-0 after 40 minutes. We'll be back with the third period in just a bit on your TV.